Andrew Breitbart, the conservative clown who thinks he's a journalist, what a joke, has done another fraudulent story as usual. He is reporting that Congressman Anthony Weiner sent out a picture from his Twitter account to a 21-year-old college student in Seattle, Washington, and that it had an indecent picture, that it was a man's genitals that could be seen through his trousers, and the implication was that he had a relationship with this woman and they were exchanging naughty pictures. Okay? Now, you're not going to be surprised to find out, of course, that it's totally and utterly untrue. The woman says, what the hell is, what are people talking about? She's just a random student in Washington. All of a sudden, people start blowing up her Twitter, and they're like, oh, what about your boyfriend, Anthony Weiner, and he sent the dirty picture. She didn't even get the picture. It already got erased by the time it got to her. People start looking at where the picture came from, and it didn't come from where Anthony Weiner normally sends his pictures from. So his YFrog account for that picture had a different origination, apparently, than the other pictures. And she says, I don't know Anthony Weiner at all. She's like, I've never been to New York. I've never been to D.C. They find one instance where I think on Facebook she said, oh, that's my boyfriend, Anthony Weiner. She then says, what are you guys talking about? I've said the same thing about Cristiano Ronaldo, the soccer player. I've said the same thing about Ray Allen, the basketball player. I've said it about other politicians. I've never met the guy. Of course he's not my boyfriend. I'm just saying that I'm a fan. And then the whole world is looking at her. Oh, what's the story behind this? They grabbed a picture of when she was 17 years old. They've got that up on websites. Is this the girlfriend or the mistress of Anthony Weiner? Now, why do I say that Breitbart is a fraud in the midst of all this? Because if somebody sent me, and I'm not saying Breitbart is the one who planted the picture. I have no idea who planted the picture, right? But if somebody sent me this story about how a conservative congressman put out a picture of some genitals to a girlfriend, first thing you think of, like conservative congressman, family values, nobody's surprised, right? But I'd say, wait a minute, on his public Twitter account? Now remember, Chris Lee did the Craigslist picture. He's the Republican in the 26th District of New York who got run out of town. But he didn't put it out in public, like from his congressional account. He was trying to hide his identity. He made up an identity, he put it on Craigslist and tried to pick up girls and apparently other folks on Craigslist, right? That I believe. If you sent me that story, I go, okay, that's interesting, let's look into it, right? If you say to me, Chris Lee or another conservative congressman on his public Twitter account is putting out pictures of his jock, I'd say even Republicans aren't that stupid. I'd never go to air with that. That's crazy. And Breitbart, super genuine, comes out like earnest, like, oh my God, I have found the genitals of Congressman Weiner. I have found them. I have located them. It's Weinergate. You fool. You disingenuous punk journalist. What a joke you are. I cannot believe anybody would take Breitbart seriously. How does that make it to air anywhere? So, of course, Congressman Weiner doesn't know this girl, and I'm sure the guy who hacked the account, whoever the conservative was at the time, thought it was the most clever thing in the world. You know, Weiner get, and that fool Breitbart puts it out there like it's a real story. The guy is 100% certifiable liar. If you hear Andrew Breitbart say anything, the rebuttable presumption is that it is a lie.
I'd like to take this time to clear up some of the questions that have been raised over the past 10 days or so and take full responsibility for my actions. At the outset, I'd like to make it clear that I have made terrible mistakes that have hurt the people I care about the most, and I'm deeply sorry. I have not been honest with myself, my family, my constituents, my friends, and supporters, and the media. Last Friday night, I tweeted a photograph of myself that I intended to send as a direct message as part of a joke to a woman in Seattle. Once I realized I had posted it to Twitter, I panicked. I took it down and said that I had been hacked. I then continued with that story, to stick to that story, which was a hugely regrettable mistake. This woman was unwittingly dragged into this and bears absolutely no responsibility. I am so sorry to have disrupted her life in this way. To be clear, the picture was of me, and I sent it. I'm deeply sorry for the pain this has caused my wife, Huma, and our family. and my constituents, my friends, supporters, and staff. In addition, over the past few years, I have engaged in several inappropriate conversations conducted over Twitter, Facebook, email, and occasionally on the phone with women I have met online. I have exchanged messages and photos of an explicit nature with about 6 women over the last 3 years. For the most part, these communications took place before my marriage, though some have sadly took place after. To be clear, I have never met any of these women or had physical relationships at any time. I haven't told the truth, and I've done things that I deeply regret. I brought pain to people I care about the most, and the people who believed in me. And for that, I'm deeply sorry. I apologize to my wife and our families, as well as to our friends and supporters. I am deeply ashamed of my terrible judgment and actions. And I'll be glad to take any questions.
It's not about agenda. It's not about mobilizing people. It's about dialing for corporate dollars. These two parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.